What's up, guys? Welcome back to the channel. If you're new around here, my name's Uncle Reddit, and this is r/ProRevenge. Still down here in Florida, kicking around. Been here for a couple days now. Was able to get set up and do some repairs on my mom's fifth wheel. You know, tinker around, take care of some maintenance that has been neglected for a little while. Sorry if you get any echo out of this. There's a little bit of echo in this room, and I can't really help it too much. Anyway, to make up for the lack of uploads recently, I'm going to make this a little bit longer video. So enjoy. Manager insists I do my job properly. Happy to comply, sir. In early 2020, I was hired under the title Assistant Manager at a local automotive shop. We mainly sold tires, spelled TIRES if you're American, and alloy wheels for passenger vehicles. The company owned several stores. I reported directly to my manager, who then reported to the owner of the company. Shortly after I was hired, I noticed the behavior of the manager was far from professional. He would constantly mock and berate me for being the new guy. I believe part of this was jealousy and insecurity on his part, as I ended up recording more sales under my name within the first few months. He would also knock off work early and start drinking beer whilst the rest of us continued to work. I remember when he found out that I participated in MMA training sessions after work. He tried to goad me into a fight for his own amusement. Clearly this guy didn't like me, and I was starting to get the feeling that he was trying to get me to snap or lose my cool, and as a result, my employment. I became even more certain of that with what happened next. Story. During the few months that I had worked there, I had noticed that our takings for the day and sales records didn't match. I would often spend a half an hour to an hour after work trying to figure out where the errors were coming from, whilst the manager would simply throw his hands in the air and exclaim that he had no idea how this was happening. The recurring issue seemed to be that our cash takings had been recorded incorrectly. There would sometimes be an excess amount of cash that didn't match up to what was recorded on our sales/invoicing software. Other times there would be less. I was at the time an accounting student studying towards my bachelor's degree. I was already suspicious of the cash being out each day. However, given how the manager had been treating me up to this point, I was concerned that any complaint would somehow be twisted and used against me, and boy was I right. Several weeks later, my manager took some time off. During this time, I managed a personal record in store sales, and also noticed something interesting. The cash was never out at the end of each shift. I reported this directly to the owner of the company. Given I was acting manager during the time my manager was away, I was expected to report to the owner every day, and explained what had been occurring whilst the manager was there. In all honesty, I was hopeful that the owner would be having a word with the manager about the discrepancies. However, I was also wary, as I believed once the owner spoke to my manager that the manager would immediately know it was me who reported this. When the manager returned to work, he immediately approached me with a disgruntled look on his face. "I've spoken with the owner. You tried to blame me for the discrepancies? You should focus on doing your job properly, then this wouldn't happen." I was quite taken aback by how angry he was, though I wasn't surprised that he twisted it and tried to place blame on me. Given his reaction, I'm even more suspicious at this point. He wants me to do my job properly, eh? Malicious compliance ensues. That same week, I got to work. I started paying attention to what customers were paying when they were dealing with my manager. Behind his back, I began examining all of his sales transactions and invoices with a fine-tooth comb. As the days rolled by, I started to find evidence of his dishonesty. When it came to a few cash sales, my manager was doing the following. Some examples would be: 1. He would tell the customer the price is $200 if he pays cash. 2. He would discount the price by $50 in the sales/invoicing software. 3. Would put the extra cash into the till and record a $150 cash sale. 4. Before we did the cash up at the end of the day, he would sneakily pocket his extra cash whilst no one was around, though he was very foolish as he clearly couldn't remember the exact amount he had swindled. Hence why the cash would be up some days, didn't swindle enough, or the cash would be down, swindled too much. In the end, I took screenshots of the discounts he had been giving on sales and sent them to the business owner, along with a report. A report with a detailed description of my findings. The report also showed that on all days he wasn't there for the cash count, there was no variance. When he was there, well, you know. The owner was infuriated. This man had been his trusted employee for years. The owner was so infuriated, in fact, that he ordered my manager to do a mandatory drug test, pee in a cup style, on the same day he found out, and no surprises, he failed. Turns out the manager had quite the meth habit. This was most likely his sole motive for stealing cash, and the owner was beside himself. We operate machinery every day in this store, and so the thought of a manager walking around high as a kite wouldn't sit well with any health and safety professional. In fact, it could have landed the owner in serious legal trouble if any accident or injury occurred under this manager's watch. The manager was terminated immediately for violation of his contract and was later taken to court by the owner in an attempt to recover the stolen funds. Safe to say, I was promoted store manager position shortly after his termination. It used to be only certain trades and jobs where you would deal with people with any kind of a drug or alcohol habit. In corporate environments, it existed just the same as it does now, maybe more so. Back then, I guess maybe people in those positions were able to hide it better. I don't know. They wore suits and ties and cleaner clothes, maybe had their own office, things like that. But being on a construction site, things were painfully obvious when somebody was either on meth, any other drug you can imagine, alcohol, and they definitely have a different type of motivation when they're hooked on something and going through those struggles. So, if you're a business owner, man, you got to figure out what those signs are so that you can keep an eye on your employees. I mean, you don't want to make them feel like they're not trusted, but at the same time, you got to protect your own interests, and that's legally and financially, and morally. I'm not the vice principal anymore? Okay, so this happened at the end of the school year. I posted what was going on in the r/teacher group, and several of the people there told me to post what happened in here. This story is in 4 parts, and I apologize for the length. I also apologize for any teacher slang I use, as it is like second nature to use it, just like military cargo was when I was in the military. Basically, I was told that all the assistant/vice principals in the district, other than the high school, were being let go, and a teacher on assignment, TOA, was going to take our jobs. I was not heartbroken over this, but was treated badly by the new admin team taking my job and my principal's job. Also, I tried to help my staff on my way out, and it seems my bosses care more about their images than my staff's happiness. So here's the story. Part 1. So none of the other admin in my district had received our contracts for the coming school year yet. I was wondering what was going on, but I heard rumors about pay scale shift, and that was the reason for it. I found out Wednesday what's actually happening. Every assistant principal and vice principal in the district, why we have 2 different titles I have no idea, isn't getting renewed contracts, except the ones at the high school. Their position is being eliminated, and their jobs are being replaced with a new position that pays a teacher's salary plus a $2,000 stipend. They're replacing the APs with learning coordinators. Apparently the budget is the given reason, but I also heard rumors from someone at the district office. Each of us APs and VPs were scheduled to meet with one of the assistant supers on Wednesday. We thought it was about our contracts, and we were correct. When I arrived, the acting superintendent was there with the head of HR. I was told about the elimination of my position, but not the reasons why. I was given an option for the coming school year. I could go back into the classroom, I could work in the district office, or I could apply and interview for the new positions that is replacing my job. WTF. I wouldn't care one lick if I was told that my position had been cut completely and I needed to go back into the classroom. I love the classroom. I miss teaching full time. However, to tell me to apply and interview for a job I already have is BS. We were told to give the district our answers by Friday and they would draw up contracts or schedule interviews. Wednesday afternoon, I went to see Tony, who is an assistant superintendent and one of the few decent leaders in the school district. I heard from Tony that there was an internal shakeup, but he wasn't allowed to talk about it or even give me a hint about what happened. However, one of the assistant supers was being reassigned, aka demoted to being the principal of my current school. My principal wasn't coming back due to health reasons. The superintendent was released from his contract, and my school's new learning coordinator position had already been filled. Who filled it? A school counselor from one of the high schools who just happens to be friends and lackey of the assistant superintendent that is now the new principal. So early this morning I gave them my answer. I decided that I didn't need until Friday to decide. I tried to make sure I sounded professional, but I made sure that my message was getting across by speaking with authority. I went into the acting superintendent's office and told him that I thought that laying off a bunch of people so they could hire others to do the same job but at less pay was BS. I told him that the way the school district handled certain situations was idiotic. I then gave several examples. I next told him that he was going to ruin a perfectly good school with an amazing team of educators by putting a lazy, mean, parent-pleasing person in as the new principal and letting her put a lackey in as her second in command. I said that she was as useless as a screen door on a submarine and as mean as Dolores Umbridge. I finished the 3-minute speech by stating that I will work my butt off and finish the school year strong. I will prep things for the next school year so that the teachers have an easier time. I also let him know I would never work at or recommend the district to anyone ever again. Then I left letting him know that I expect an amazing letter of recommendation by the end of the school day, Friday afternoon, since I earned it for my service the past few years. So what am I going to do now? Well, I called up an old friend Wednesday who's currently a principal at a STEAM charter school that's part of a chain of charter STEAM schools and asked if he had a teaching position available. He's been asking me every year for the past 5 years to come work for him. He told me he had 3 openings and I could have my pick of them. So next year, I will be a, drum roll please, 6th grade teacher, and I'm very happy about it. I even got to design my curriculum as long as it meets state standards. I could apply elsewhere for admin positions, but I think I need a break from school leadership. I need to love my work again like I used to as a teacher. Yes, there were and are many challenges, and sometimes I hated going to work, but I do love being a teacher. I feel bad for my current staff because the regime change will hit them hard, but there's nothing I can do about it. I wish I could help them. The most I could do would be to take a teaching position at my current school, but then I would be miserable with them and be helpless to do anything to aid them. So for myself and my daughter, who I love more than anything, I'm making the move to a new school and going back to what I enjoy doing, teaching. I'm even bringing my daughter to my new school to start next year as a 5th grader. I asked her if she wanted to stay at her current school or go to the STEAM school with me, and she wants to go with me. She was excited since she's visited there several times and loves the technology room, the robotics class, and the science labs. Plus she's friends with some of the kids there already. As a goodbye to my staff, I'm going out this weekend and I'm going to buy some nice letter paper and scratcher tickets. I'm going to write short, individualized goodbyes to each of my staff members, and at the end I will include the following words. I'm giving you some scratcher tickets. My hope is that you are as lucky scratching them as I have been lucky to have worked with you. So that's it. I have to finish my contract, but at the end of June I am free. I'm looking forward to teaching full-time again and having a boss who will let me just do my job and not interfere. I don't think I want to work in administration again, but maybe after a few years I'll decide to work as an AP again. Part 2. So I put together goodbye gifts for all my staff and I'll be handing them out Friday, their last day with the kids. They have a bunch of goodies that I posted about weeks ago. I was thinking this weekend about how to give the finger one more time to the district office and help my teachers out, even in a small way, so I came up with it Sunday night. My district requires each teacher to attend additional training throughout the year. These are outside of the regular staff development trainings. They're run by district staff, SPED teachers, and admin. The training normally lasts 1 to 3 hours and the teacher gets a certificate for the time spent in the training. Each teacher is required to attend 24 hours of these before the end of the school year. Most teachers take them over the summer, if they're offered, so they don't have to take them during the school year. So yesterday morning before work I was making copies of the certificates for all the courses I have run here in the past few years. Classroom management strategies, lockdown procedures, social studies strategies, math strategies, reading comprehension, and environmental print. I'm going to fill them out with each of the teachers' names and number of hours. I'm adding all the times I ever spoke to the staff about these topics and putting down hours to correspond, rounding up to the nearest hour-ish. Wouldn't you know, each of those topics was 3 to 5 hours in length. Each staff member will have exactly 24 hours worth of training. I filled out the dates of the training for the 2022/2023 school year. Oh, and I have an attendance sheet with all of their names and I have them marked as being present. Note, I checked with the district and since I'm still an administrator into the summer, I'm allowed to run these trainings over the summer before I leave. Now they can have their summer to themselves and not worry about taking classes during the school year. They can if they wish, but 99% of the teachers here hate the mandatory training hours. I hope the staff likes the present. Part 3. Since Friday, I am no longer a school administrator. I technically have another week to work, but I took vacation during that time because, well, screw them. Now I spent the last week packing up, giving aid and comfort to my now former staff, and causing problems for the new administrators who are a-holes. Now, besides giving the entire staff a year free from additional PDs, I wasn't planning on causing any more problems. Just quietly leave and drive off into the sunset, Shane style. But no, apparently I don't deserve a quiet week. The new principal, demoted from assistant super, and her new teacher on assignment, TOA, decided for some reason to be rude to me. There was only one response to that. I aim to misbehave. How are they rude to me, you ask? First off, they ordered me to hurry and clean out my office. Apparently, the TOA wanted to start redecorating my office. I was literally told, get all your personal stuff out of here ASAP. She wants her office now. I still had a week to work there and actual work to do. Second, the new principal tried to steal my personal chair and my personal office supplies and decorations. That chair was a gift to me from a friend. I found her just wheeling it out of my office and into hers. My desk supplies and a banner from my wall were stacked on its seat. I told her that it was my personal chair, not the district's. She said, okay. The very next morning I found it missing. She had moved it into her office after I left for the day. Third, I was given a list of tasks to complete by Friday by the TOA, who is in no way, shape, or form my boss. These were not my job to do and are in fact the incoming admin's duty to complete. Stuff the new admin are supposed to do. Things like put together a new staff packets, schedule next year's PDs, fill out and submit request forms, etc. Finally, I was talked down to every single day by the new admin team. I was spoken to as though I were the hired help, and they were the royal bees. Seriously, I speak to a waitress that messes up my order with 20 times the amount of respect that they showed me. They actually tried to get my attention by snapping their fingers at me like that would work. Note, the new principal has also made some pretty anti-LGBTQ+ comments. I don't like narrow-minded people. So I decided to do as I was told. I was a soldier, so I know how to follow orders. I removed everything that was my personal property. That included my chairs, decorations, the stress relievers, punching bag, etc., the fridge from the office, and the file cabinets in my office. Yes, I bought government surplus cabinets because I didn't have any. All my files and all of my former principal's files were in there. I had even bought the manila folders I used in it. So I took every piece of paper out of my cabinets, removed them from my labeled folders, stacked them onto the floor in one large pile. There's no order to how they got stacked. I took my chair from the principal's office while she was in a meeting with parents. I just walked in and rolled it out. She stopped talking to the parents to ask what I was doing, and I responded that I was taking my personal property out ASAP, as I was ordered to do. I had an old medium-sized fridge I had placed in the office workroom for office staff to store their food in, but it's mine, so I took the fridge. I brought it right out the front door and loaded it into my truck. I even took the new admin's food out of it and left them on the table. It's my fridge. I warned the rest of the office staff I was taking it, but forgot to tell the admin. Darn. I copied all my digital files over to a flash drive and then deleted everything off my work Google Drive. Anything I personally created or designed. Copied all my emails too. I informed the staff that if they need time off next year and need it approved to submit the forms to me this week. I got several and they're all now approved. I got this idea from someone who messaged me here on Reddit and suggested I do this. Thanks for the advice. I approved every supply list item the staff submitted and even drove to the district warehouse to pick up some items personally. I even approved funds for a second-hand kiln for the art teacher. She found a good one on Craigslist. I had repaired my desk with bolts and tools from home. I took the bolts back. The desk is now lopsided again. The closet door was broken when I got there, so I repaired it. I have now put it back as it was when I was hired. The two-way mirror in the detention room was mine. I had gotten it from a friend at another school, different district. It allowed me to watch ISS and detention students from my office without them seeing me. I popped that right out and took it home. Now the TOA has a hole in the wall the detention kids can look through. I had put together all the lockdown buckets and fire drill bags myself with my own money. I took all of them back. This I felt bad about, but I will give them out to the staff at my new school. I put a rush order on all classroom and building repairs and have an approved order to have every classroom repainted. I assembled new staff packets and the new school year binders. Besides the basics of what is required, I have included throughout the binders in random places Dilbert cartoons, famous Harry Potter quotes, the lyrics to Nickelback's How You Remind Me, I Kissed a Girl by Katy Perry, All Star by Smash Mouth, and We Built This City by Starship. A map of the area where I marked all the good places to eat lunch off campus, funny Far Side Teachers comics, cheesy teacher jokes, the union contact info, crosswords, Sudoku, and word searches, a list of educational lawyers, just in case. I also included in the binder the admin Wi-Fi password for them since that signal is stronger for some reason. I went ahead and wrote out the PD schedule for next year. Oddly, every Wednesday is listed as free time or work in your classroom. I'm sure they'll change it, but I don't know when they'll find out what it says. I had a master list of donators and partners in the community. It was posted on a whiteboard in my office. I got over 4 dozen businesses and people in the community to help with various things and donate over the years. I spent a lot of my time building relationships with them and making deals. I took a photo of it and then I erased the list and took the whiteboard since it was mine. Friday, I flew the LGBTQ+ flag instead of the state flag. I also placed LGBTQ+ flags in each classroom in case the staff want to display them. Then I got yelled at 3 times. The first time was when I took back my chair. I was told it was unprofessional to just take it without asking, especially with guests present. I responded with, yes, it was unprofessional to take my chair without asking. The second time was when the TOA found the refrigerator gone. She said that it was community property. I told her, no, it's my property and I was told to take all my property from the campus. The third time was when I was in the parking lot leaving and they found the piles of papers. The principal flagged me down and told me to clean it up. I told her I was off the clock and that the district never reimbursed me for the cabinets, so I had to take them with me. I'm expecting a call from HR today asking for my assistance setting everything back up since with all my stuff removed and erased, the admin team has to actually put in some hard work. I'd come in for my consultant rate, $75 an hour with a minimum contract for 12 hours. Part 4. So as some of you know, I left the world of being an administrator a few weeks ago. I tried to leave behind some nice gifts when I left. I wasn't looking to cause problems my last few weeks, but the new admin team treated me in a way that was unacceptable, so I decided that Malcolm Reynolds had it right when he said, I aim to misbehave. Well, the Tuesday after I left, I received a call from HR. I ignored it. I then left for a road trip with my daughter where we went to San Francisco for a few days and went to 2 Giants games. Unfortunately, they lost both games. While we were on our trip, they called and emailed me at my personal email account. My work one was deleted by them. I ignored the calls and never opened the emails. My daughter and I then went to Disneyland for a few days of fun and then returned this past Friday. I then checked the voicemails and emails. I was asked, begged, and then ordered to come to the HR for important meetings. It's very important that we speak to you as soon as possible, is what they said repeatedly. So yesterday I went into the district office wearing cargo shorts, a shirt I got at Disneyland, and flip-flops. I don't work there, so I don't need to dress up. When I arrived, I was originally treated like a visiting VIP. The HR manager and her assistant tried to butter me up like a Pillsbury biscuit. After a few minutes of them trying to make small talk and me letting them know I had plans to go to lunch in 30 minutes, they got to the point. They wanted me to turn over a few things that I took with me that, though they belonged to me, they said were sorely needed at the school. They gave me a list from the new principal which included, but not limited to, my chair, seriously, my refrigerator and appliances, my community contacts board, people and businesses that I build relationships and partnerships with, my personally designed forms and worksheets, two-way mirror, my lockdown buckets and fire drill bags. They also wanted copies of every record I kept and notes I took on the staff and students. The notes I took on the staff were so I could personalize gifts for them and have conversations with them on their interests. I said no to all these requests. I told the ladies that the furniture and appliances were mine that I brought in. I stated that the chair was a gift to me from a friend and that the new principal can afford to buy her own chair. I also stated that I left any official school/district documents there and any I took with me and or deleted were of my own making and my intellectual property. I also stated that my contacts were developed over the years on my personal time and at personal cost to me. I also stated that everything I took that I had submitted reimbursement was never reimbursed. I kept my records and pay stubs. I never saw a red cent from those submissions. They offered to pay me for some of the items and gave me a rough figure of what the district would pay me to return the fridge, the forms, buckets, bags, mirror, and contact board. I told them that I didn't want to hand them over to the new admin team since they had treated me so poorly. They asked me again and tried to reason that some of those things could be interpreted as school property. I told them that they were welcome to try and force me to return anything that was legally mine to them, but I would be willing to fight it in court. I also told them that those 2 new administrators made me uncomfortable and that their treatment of me could be considered making a hostile work environment, especially when they tried to make me do their jobs for them. I then gave the HR team my lawyer's info. Note, I dated a lawyer after my divorce for a few years and we're still good friends, and she's offered herself as my forever retained lawyer, that I can use her name and she'd help me if she could. I rarely use her name, but when I have needed her legal advice, she always comes through. I also help her with physical chores when she or her family needs help. I then wished the lady a good school year and the term to come and left. I doubt I'll ever hear from them again. Wow, that was long. Whew, Where do I even start? Okay, so I've worked in a school district before. Now, they're not all the same, but there are some things that are very similar when you go district to district, state to state, things like that. Most school districts are pretty tight these days with letting you buy your own stuff. I don't know what it's like for administrators, but for a lot of teachers, you have to buy your own certain supplies, like, markers, papers, pens, pencils, around here anyway, or around where I live. But then there's other things like furniture and stuff like that. They really kind of frown on that. And I don't know if it's a liability thing, if the furniture breaks, hurts somebody, or turns into this at the end of a contract. But good for you. Glad you stood up for yourself. Yeah, school districts are always making bad decisions to try to save a penny. And it rarely works. First of all, you never save any money. You're going to spend it somewhere else on something. I've dealt with a lot of administrative politics and all kinds of different issues and people being very immature. For supposed educated adults, I find a lot of people in the school district that I worked with, not all of them, but there was a big group that were just so arrogant and totally wrong. While they might be experts in their particular chosen field, they're really not that smart. But anyway. Well, I hope you enjoyed these stories today, guys, and if you did, would you consider doing me a favor? Would you click the like button down below? Maybe subscribe to the channel? And don't forget to click that little bell icon so you get notified the next time the fat guy with the beard does a video. See ya!